Hello, it's me, and I've got a pretty special unboxing for you today. So this comes from Arizona, home of the Painted Desert and a lot of very beautiful sights out west. Been there a few times. And, well, let's see what we've got. This one I've been probably waiting for longer than any other puzzle that I've ever waited for in my collection. But I think it's going to be well worth the wait. So get across here. This puzzle comes from Carl Hoff. Carl Hoff is another, well, not just another, but he's a brilliant designer, puzzle maker. And let's see what he's got here. Packaged real nicely. This has literally been years in the making. Years in the making and months, if not years, in the production of it to get this end product. So let's see what we've got. You know, before I finish the unboxing, before I pull this out here, I think it's best that I introduce some aspects of what we're talking about with this. Now, I've gone through before some of the different classifications of puzzles, such as cuboids, different types of parodies, what parodies are, but I think it's worthwhile going back to the very definition of what we mean by various twisty puzzles of different dimensions and different types of parodies. Well, here is the most elemental version of a twisty puzzle. This is a 1 by 1 by 1, really just a dice when you think about it, with the standard Rubik's color pattern. So it's not really a twisty puzzle per se in that you can't twist it. However, in its elemental form, this is what a twisty puzzle is. So this is the component. Now, in order to figure out how many pieces go into a twisty puzzle, it's based upon the volume of what the cube is, which is n cubed. So a 1 by 1 by 1 has a volume of 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1, and you can see it over here. So this is the very basic, the very simplest version of what a twisty puzzle is. Moving in an M direction, an E direction, and it doesn't really twist, it just kind of rotates. So if we were to take this, the next basic form above a 1 by 1 by 1 is a 3 by 3. Move this back over here. So 3 by 3 by 3. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, you forgot something. What about the 2 by 2? Well, we're going to get back to that, because the fact of the matter is a 2 by 2 is really just kind of a disguised 3 by 3 in terms of its structure, but we'll get back to that in a bit, so I have not forgotten about that. But a 3 by 3 by 3 is the next structure of a twisty puzzle that we have. So when looking at that, you can see that there's more complexity to the pieces. Now we have ourselves some centers, we've got edges which articulate between two centers, and we've got corners which articulate between three sides or three centers. So that's the other basic form of a twisty puzzle, which is the 3 by 3 by 3. So the volume of this, which tells us how many components we have of a puzzle, is, well, n cubed, or 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So there should be 27 individual pieces responsible for making up basically what holds this puzzle together. But when looking at this, we have edge pieces, and of the edge pieces we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 edge pieces, we have 8 corner pieces, and we have 6 center pieces. So 12 edge pieces plus 8 corner pieces, that gives us 20, and then we have our 6 edge pieces, which gives us 26. But our equation, our 3 by 3 by 3, took us to 27. So why do we have just 26? Where's the 27th piece? Did we miss one? So there must be 27 to keep this thing together. Well, the fact of the matter is we actually do have 27 pieces here. We think there's only 26, but there actually is 27. So in addition to the center pieces, the edge pieces, and the corner pieces, there's one other piece that exists within every 3 by 3. And if you have your 3 by 3 right now, as I suspect you do, and you're looking at it, looking for that extra piece, there actually exists inside every 3 by 3 a 1 by 1 by 1. Where is it? Well, it doesn't look like this. Instead, we have another word for the 1 by 1 by 1 that exists inside a 3 by 3 by 3, and instead of looking like this, it actually looks more like this, and it's called the core. So inside every 3 by 3 is a 1 by 1 by 1, and that 1 by 1 by 1 is actually the core of the puzzle. It doesn't seem to contribute to the scramble, it doesn't contribute to the solve, but it is there, and it's that one other piece that gives us 27 pieces. Now if we wanted to let the core participate in that, then what we would do is we would basically reveal it here. We can drill down to here and basically visualize the core, or peel a sticker away and look at the screw underneath. Because these center pieces are actually not part of the core. These center pieces are screwed into the core, but they rotate independently, so they're separate pieces. So as I'm rotating this, you can see that the center piece rotates. The center is not the same as the core. The core is its own individual piece, and that's what's responsible for the next piece that's in there. So if I were to take this off here, you can see deep down in there, that's piece number 27, and that's the core. It's its own separate piece, and that brings us up to 27. Now we're going to bypass the 2 by 2 because in actuality, what a 2 by 2 really is it's a 3 by 3, because underneath, in the middle of a 2 by 2, there's a hidden edge, and then there's a hidden center, and then you've got the core. So all this is, all a 2 by 2 is they took the corner pieces and they sort of enveloped the center and the edge pieces. So this envelopes and covers all the other pieces, so it becomes a corner-only solve, a corner-only puzzle. But the edge pieces and the center pieces are still in there. They're just hidden just like the core piece. So this is really the same structure as a 3 by 3, just where the corners envelope everything and hide everything. So we'll kind of bypass that. So too, we can go the next step up, and obviously I'm going to bypass the 4 by 4 because the 4 by 4 with its hidden edge in here and its hidden center over here is really just a cloaked over 5 by 5. By the way, that's where notions of what parity are comes from that. So a 4 by 4, when you think about it, this is just edge pieces on the side over here, but it's cloaked over a hidden center edge piece over here. This center piece does exist here, it's just inside, where these pieces here, these corner center pieces, cloak over these center edge pieces here and the main center piece over here. So this isn't the next basic structure, it's really this. This is the next basic structure that you can see. So what is it that's in a 5 by 5 by 5? Well, a 5 by 5 by 5, that's 5 times 5, which is 25, and then 5 more, which is 125. So 5 by 5 by 5, in terms of its volume and the number of pieces, are 125. But how many do we actually have? Well, there's 5 here and 5 here on this top, so that's 5 times 5 or 25. Then we've got another 5 times 5 here, so that's another 25, so the top and the bottom, that makes 50. Well, how many pieces are here? 3 pieces here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then we've got these pieces here, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this middle piece is 16, this middle piece is 16, and this middle piece is 16. So 16 and 16, which is 32, plus another 16, which is 48. So we have 48 plus 50, and that gives us 98. So we appear to have just 98 individual pieces in our 5 by 5. But our calculations show that we should have 125 pieces. Where did all the rest go? Well, in the case of a 3 by 3, we could get a real 3 by 3 by allowing us to see the core, and with the core, have ourselves a real 3 by 3 where we actually see all the pieces. Then maybe we can put little stickers on the core and just see that move. But the core doesn't really participate in the scramble, nor does it participate in the solve. So we really don't care, and we can keep that hidden. But over here, we're missing a whole lot more. You can say, well, there's a core in here, so we'll add one more piece, so maybe that's 99. But if we say that we have 98 pieces, subtract that from the 125 pieces we should have, we end up with 27 pieces, which is exactly the number of what we calculated for a 3 by 3 by 3. If we were to add the core in here, that becomes 99, so that gives us 125 minus 99, that gives us 26 pieces, which is the same number as a 3 by 3, only without the core. So what that suggests is just like inside a real 3 by 3, a 3 by 3 puzzle is a hidden core, a hidden 1 by 1 by 1, so inside a 3 by 3 is a hidden 1 by 1 by 1, which we call a core. Hidden inside a 5 by 5, if you look at the volume and do the math, there appears to be hidden a 3 by 3 by 3 with its consequent 1x1 hidden inside of that. So this should have a 3x3 and a 1x1 hidden inside it. So before you start attacking your 5x5 and taking it apart, you may have actually done assemblies or disassemblies, and you may say, well, you know, sure, I see a core in there, so I'll give you a point for that, but there's no 3x3 hidden inside here. Where do you find a 3x3 in there? Even though the math says that there actually should be. So in reality, every 5x5 that you've been playing with has had less pieces than there actually is. And if you're playing with an actual real 5x5x5, you should also have a 3x3 in there that can move potentially independently. So here's what Carl Hoff did. So when you take it apart, if you notice, when you take apart or do a disassembly, you'll see that the shape of the core, of the center, looks kind of strange. It looks like there's an extra plate that's there. When you look at the edges have a lot more well-seeming parts to it. The fact of the matter is there is a 3x3 in here, but it's fused with the pieces of the 5x5. So inside the core, or the 1x1x1, when you look at the center of the 3x3 is fused to, attached right to, the center of the 5x5. So it's not an independent piece. And all the pieces, all the edges, do have 3x3 components to it, but they've been fused with it. So the 3x3 portion is fused with this, and that's why you don't count as many pieces. They're there. They're just actually combined with it. So what Carl Hoff did is he said, well, what if we were to disengage that? What if we were to take the 3x3 that's inside all the 5x5s and took away that fusion and allowed that to move independently and then brought it out to the surface? But what if he were to do even more than that? What if he were to disenfranchise the 3x3 and the 1x1 so that you can actually see in the 5x5 the internal 3x3, move it independently, and also move the 1x1 independently as well? What if we were to do that? So that's what he did, and that's what you end up with when you have what's called the real 5x5. The real 5x5 takes the inner 3x3, makes it so that it's not fused to the pieces of the 5x5 and allows for independent movement. And that's what we have with this guy over here. So, introducing for the first time in my collection an actual real 5x5. What makes this 5x5 quote real is the fact that our 3x3 is actually in here. It's been brought out to the surface. It's been detached from the 5x5 puzzle where it's usually attached to it, and it's been brought to the surface in order to see. So it has a very interesting look, and let's see what else we got. Carl provided us with some stickers here. I don't have it stickered. It's going to look so much more cool when I have it stickered. Now, admittedly, I really hate stickering. I'm not a stickering kind of guy. So it's going to take me a little while to do this. Number 7, so this is number 7 over here. And Carl was good enough to allow me the privilege of being among the first batch to receive this puzzle. This is three-dimensionally printed, but it's been tumbled by Brandon Enright. Basically what that is, it's a way of just kind of polishing the pieces. And this interesting look to it is it actually has a circle. It looks like it's a circle 5x5, which is great because I've got a circle 3x3, a circle 4x4, a circle 2x2 actually, and now I've got a circle 5x5. But it's more than just that. You can see there's a double circle. You move the outer layer here, the inner stays. You move the second layer here, and the inner, or the 3x3 layer stays here as well. So it's a double circle 5x5. But it's not just that. It's actually a real 5x5 with a 3x3 inside of it. In terms of the movement of this puzzle, as I come across like this, the outer layers move really, really smooth. You can move it with one hand. You can maybe finger trick it, although I don't recommend it. The middle layer, this is going to take some more working in, I think. I might end up loosening it. It does move, makes a little bit of a click sound, which I'm told is okay. So I'm going to keep working with this, but as you move the top layer, the both outer and inner circles stay put, as you can see. As you move the second layer, just the inner circle stays put where the outer circle doesn't. So this is brilliantly designed. This is the result of, I think, years and years of designing by Carl Hoff and fantastically put together and tumbled by Brandon Enright to get this incredible real 5x5. A real 3x3 is not too hard to picture. Just visualize the screw from the core, and you've got yourself a real 3x3. So how does this work? What are the 3x3 components? I'm going to get more into detail with this later, and I'm still kind of discovering it myself. But in order for me to really understand what is meant by that and how we see the inner 3x3 is to first understand which pieces are kind of really attached to each other. Not attached physically, but don't move independent with each other. So this here, these centers, this is not the center of a 3x3. These centers here are my 1x1. This is the center of the 1x1. And I think in here, aha, I have these caps over here, and I've got a nice little Allen wrench that I can adjust the tension. I might not do that. I might just keep working it in, but here's the caps. Once I put the caps in, all will be fine, and then I'll go ahead and sticker it. But let's take a look at the structure here. I'm going to get more into details of the structure when I start to do the solve of it. But let's see what we've got here. So these are the 1x1s. They're not the center of the 3x3. What is the center of the 3x3? Let me see if I can't pull this out here. Once that's on, that's on. I might not even have to super glue it. It stays on really, really well. There we go. Ha. Okay, so the center of a 3x3, well, let's take a look at these. What are these? Well, they're not edges. I look at this, and I look at this, and I find that this, and this, all of these pieces here never leave each other's side. So when I turn this, they move with each other. When I turn any of the outer areas here, I turn this doesn't leave each other here, and even when I turn this stays the same, and this stays the same. So what this means is that these pieces here, these are the centers of a 3x3. This piece, this, and this I'm looking at as the same pieces. So these all represent a single center, so they represent this guy here collectively. Even though they're different pieces, and if I take the puzzle apart, they're separate pieces, functionally they're the same. Picture this as though this whole area here, this whole plane over here to this is the center. So this whole thing here, this represents this side here. So together, these four pieces represent this one center. To which you might think, well, do you have to reduce them? And the answer is no. They always follow each other. Just like every time I move here, the center, I guess, follows itself. Whatever I do with this puzzle, no matter how I move it, I can come up to here, here. This, and this will never leave each other's side. So the way I'm going to look at it is that these are the centers of a 3x3. So this is layer 1, or this is face number 1. Here's a center. This, and this. This is another center. So face 1, face 2, face 3, face 4, face 5, and whatever's left over, face 6. So each one of these collectively represents one face. So these are the centers of the 3x3. All right, what about the edges? Well, what other pieces stay with each other? Well, if I'm going to say that this whole thing here represents a side, or a face rather, and this whole thing represents a face, well, an edge articulates between two centers. So what edge articulates between collectively these centers and these centers? Well, I notice this over here, no matter where I move it, it can be disenfranchised from these two, so it's not connected to these two. However, the one just opposite stays with it. So no matter what I do with this piece, it never leaves this piece. I can move this over here, this stays put, so does this. If I try to move this piece, wherever I move this piece, this one follows. Not this, not this, not this. So these opposite pieces here, these represent a single edge piece. So this single edge piece is like this, between this center and this center, only this center and this center. So now what I'm looking at is that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 edges here. So that represents 1, that's these two, 2, 3, 4. So basically among this center here, okay, so this center here, we got articulation with this center, this center, this center, and this center. And the edge pieces that articulate between those centers are this for this center and this center, these two for this center and this center. Well, you get the picture. So these two, and these two. So when I solve this, it's going to be really fun because I've got to skew my perspective and say that these represent the edge pieces. Okay, so what's the corner piece? Well, right now I'm moving everything from the center. So if I keep doing movements like this, that's going to be my 3 by 3 movements, these inner edges here. So what's the corner piece? Well, articulating between this center, and this center, well, I got this little piece here. Now what moves with this every time? Well, when I move this, or when I move this actually, that moves this piece here, this also moves, and this also moves. And no matter what I do, these 3 little pieces here, I hope you see what I'm doing. I know it might be kind of hard to see with this, but this little black piece here, this little piece here, and this little piece here, these are all kind of connected with each other, and that you can never move them away from each other. No matter what I do, if I turn it like this is moving, so is this. See, it's moving away from here, and this moved too. So this, and this together make up corners. So these are corners, this, and this. These are corners 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have a definition of what are my 3 by 3 pieces. There's more pieces, but they're divided, they're spread out. So what Carl brilliantly did is he took all of these edge pieces inside the 5 by 5 and he brought them out. They look to be in different parts of the cube, but they're brought out so that you can see them on the surface. So it's quite brilliant. It's pretty incredible. So to solve this, if I were to solve one face to get my cross, so to speak, which is from here, here, and here, I'm going to put these edges in. And if I wanted to put these corners in here and here, that would be my typical RIDI-RD. So basically, if I wanted to exchange this for, say, one of these, I'd simply move this down. Well, I shouldn't say simply because I'm not sure that that'll work. Move this down. So I've got these corners here. I want to move it in with this edge. So that's RIDI. I'd move these into position and move this up here. So now I've got this in place. So that's pretty good. That's how I'm going to approach it. So now I have everything that I need to know about what my edges are, what my corners are, and what my centers are. And that's the 3 by 3 solve, and that's all going to be moving like this. All right, so that's how you find the hidden 3 by 3 and 1 by 1 underneath the 5 by 5. So what represents the 5 by 5 face? Well, we talked about what's here. The 5 by 5 face, we start off with the centers. Well, this is the 3 by 3 center. So it stands to reason what's next would be the 5 by 5. So what about this? What is attached to this? What moves along with this guy? Well, this, and this never move away from each other. I think the back one also doesn't move away from each other. Yeah, so basically these all represent a 5 by 5 center. I suspect the one is just above this. So this is a 5 by 5 center. That represents this middle center. What about these guys over here? Well, what about this over here? So this is the face center. This here will correlate with this. Once I get the stickers, it's going to make more sense, I think, once I put that on. But what about the top center? What about this center over here? Well, this is a good candidate over here, but this isn't by itself. This always moves with what? Well, let's see. This always seems to move with, well, as this guy is moving, so too is this. This little one over here is moving. And this little one is moving. And when I move this down, this stays put, and so does this. So it looks like the top center here is correlated with this piece, and this piece. So as I'm reducing the center, so to speak, I've got these that are all going to move together. These guys here, then this piece, and this piece are going to be the top center over here, which leaves as the side what's going to represent these guys. Well, a good candidate, since this is spoken for, so this is not part of this. This is part of this. So these guys are the same, and these guys are the same. These here are going to represent these guys over here. But what moves with this? So as I move this, as I move this across here, what moves with it? Well, this moves with it. So is this piece and this piece always with each other? And the answer is yes. This and this always freeze or move with each other. So that means this piece is equivalent to this and this. And this piece is equivalent to this and this. So now we have the center here, which is these four pieces cumulatively. We've got this top, which is this piece, and this piece. Then we have this over here, which is this piece, and this over here, which is this piece and this piece. And the numbers add up. So as I'm putting that in, I have to bear in mind what all the sides are. So as I'm reducing them, some of these are going to be put in as well. All right, once we do that, we now look at the edges. This edge is correlated with this piece here. These two edges are correlated with this piece. And of course, the corners here are correlated with this. So these represent the 5 by 5 corners, and this, well, this represents a 5 by 5 corner, and this, and this represent one 3 by 3 corner. These two represent the edges of a 5 by 5, and the edges of a 3 by 5, the 3 by 3 are these two together. So this is one edge, and this is one edge over here. While the centers are basically here, 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 and here, the 5 by 5, here, 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 and here, the 3 by 3. So once I solve the 3 by 3, skewing my perspective around the 1 by 1, I can then reduce the 5 by 5 and maybe solve it that way. So that's basically my approach, and I'm going to come back at some point when I get the time. It's going to take me a little while to do the stickers. That's going to be a little bit, but I wanted to do the unboxing first. So there you have it, a real 5 by 5, and that's what's meant by a real 5 by 5, which means that the hidden 3 by 3 and the hidden 1 by 1 are here for you to see and here for you to solve. All 125 pieces are there for you, which you didn't see over here. This represents, in my mind, a complete paradigm shift in terms of how we view twisty puzzles. That the true 5 by 5 is actually this guy, the real 5 by 5. These little wedges here just kind of make it a super cube. Not quite sure what they're there for. Maybe they just sort of enhance the 1 by 1 aspect of it. So we'll see. But this is a perfect example of brilliance of design and brilliance of technique in terms of putting it together. This is Carl Hoff's major contribution, and once again I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to view this puzzle, unbox it, and of course solve this. What this is it's more than just a twisty puzzle. It's more than just a toy. This is a geometric, scientific, mathematical work of art. And as soon as any of you guys have an opportunity to lay hands on this puzzle, I'd say take the opportunity to do that, because it's a twisty puzzle in its purest form. With that I say, thanks for watching.